103.2 Dublin City FM. This is Mental Wealth with Brian Greene. If you want to get in touch with the programme, email mentalwealth@dublincityfm.ie. As promised on the programme this week, I'm talking with Parentline. Parentline are a helpline for parents. It's as obvious as that. And I'm talking with their coordinator and organiser, Rita O'Reilly. Hiya, Rita.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Very good. Tell us, you were on the show before, but for people who didn't hear that interview, how long is Parentline on the go and what do you do?
Well, Parentline is actually knocking around the guts of 40 years, 38, 37 years. We are a helpline for parents, and it's somewhere for parents to pick up the phone and explore whatever parenting issue is going on for them in confidence and without judgment. We'll give the parent safe place and time just to say out loud what's on their mind.
Childline is there for children, so you're there for the parent for any kind of issues they're having with their children. It's advice or it's a chat with a trained expert to kind of talk out the issues that they're having.
That's exactly it, Brian. And we talk to parents of children, of brand new babies, right up to parents of adult children, if that's not a contradiction, but grown up children. And it's about all sorts of things. I mean, our most frequently occurring topic at the moment is child-to-parent violence. Sorry, it isn't. It's anger and aggression. And the second one is teenage issues. And the third one is child-to-parent violence. But also there's things like bullying. Child is bullying. Child being bullied. Not happy in school. Not making friends. Making too many friends and not coming home until the all hours of the day. Experimenting with alcohol, with drugs. Depression. All of the things that goes on in a family, everything that they encounter, Parentline are happy and willing and to talk to parents about.
I'm here in your offices. How big is your team of volunteers that do all this work?
We've 48 volunteers at the moment. However, we are recruiting and we've a new drive on at the moment for a training course that's starting on the 19th of October. Ideally, we should have almost 60 volunteers would be the ideal number. We do 18 shifts a week. And typically there's 3 people on a shift. Some of them 2 is enough in the quieter shifts. The training that the volunteers get is in counselling and listening skills. And it's a real, sort of a valuable life skill. I often think, Parentline saying, people want to give time to Parentline and they're very, very generous to do that. But it's also, there's a return and they, learn some valuable life skills. As I said, the counselling and listening skills is a good one. The other thing is a lot of parenting skills, that if people, our own volunteers often say, oh God, I never thought about that in terms of my own children or grandchildren indeed. We have a lot of people who have grandchildren. And as well as the training that new volunteers get before they go on the line, on a monthly basis then we give training in different topics that we see that they encounter over time. Like next training, the National Parents Council is coming in to talk to us and they'll talk about issues around school. And then we've got somebody coming in to talk about diversity soon after that. So there's we've had people in about drugs, we've had people, the juvenile liaison officer, the Children's Rights Alliance, all of those things that are supporting parents and supporting children. We get them in to teach our volunteers what they do so they can communicate on to the parent in distress.
Anybody could volunteer to do this. What is the best type of person to step forward? Like, what's the motivations people should have to want to do this?
The main skill we need is to be a good listener. Somebody that can hear people and be, I suppose, tolerant of them. Empathy is important. Then we need time, 3 hours a week. It's a dedicated 3 hours. So if you say, well, I go in on Monday from 1 to 4, that's your time. It's not going to be Tuesday next week and Thursday next week. So people tend to write it into their diary. And I often hear our volunteers say, oh, no one will ever ring me on a Monday because they know I'm in Parentline. So that's, that becomes part of their life. So I suppose, as I say, the skills are good listener, empathy. And then the sort of what you need to do is time. But the training, if you don't feel the confidence, the training should help there. That they and also through the training, there's 3 sessions. There's 2 full Saturdays and a Wednesday evening initially, and then the new volunteer will go into the helpline, and they must have 10 hours active listening under supervision, and then be listened to for 10 hours under to a trained, skilled volunteer. So before they take a call at all. So over that time, we would, the trainee could point out that they need extra training, or we might point out that there's extra training needed, or indeed the volunteer might say, do you know what, this is not for me, and in which case we would help them find somewhere that they might like to volunteer. But to be honest with you, that very seldom happens. It's a nice place to work. We've got some volunteers with us who are over here with more than 30 years, which one of them is actually a great-grandparent now. So you can imagine the amount of skill that woman has, and the amount of experience, and the number of parents she's spoken to over the years. So she's a lot to bring to the line, but also she enjoys it. And only last week that woman said to me that she learned something new last week. So there's an ongoing learning.
You say it's a nice place to work. The biscuits are really nice as well, and the tea and coffee, because I've just experienced them.
Can I just take the opportunity to say thank you very much to Nolan's Supermarket in Clontarf. They have sponsored our tea and biscuits for many, many years.
Brilliant, great supermarket down there in Fairland Avenue. You're with Dublin City FM. I'm talking to Rita O'Reilly from Parentline. Is there any restrictions on who can volunteer? Do you have to be over 21, male, female? What's any restrictions at all?
Well, you definitely have to be over 21. To be honest with you, I think you need to be more 30. That's partly because of life experience, but partly because it's a slightly older organisation. So to enjoy it, it's better working with your peers. Male and female, that doesn't matter. We've got both, and welcome both. And then as regards being a parent, no, you don't have to be a parent. I think all of our volunteers at the moment are parents, but we have had volunteers who weren't parents. It's because the key role is to listen and is to give the time to that parent. So you don't need to know everything. You just need to be able to listen and guide.
So it's non-directive. You don't give advice. You just listen and kind of steer people through their own thoughts as to ways around what they're experiencing. Yeah,
we give support, information and guidance. That's the way we describe it. Very, very often a parent will ring up and say, I've got a problem. What do you suggest I do about it? And we would say, well, let's have a bit of a chat. And 40 minutes later they'll hang up and they'll say, I'm going to do exactly what you told me to do. We haven't told them to do anything. They have thought it themselves. They separated the wood from the trees. They offloaded some of the stress, because if you're stressed you can't think right. So if you offload some of that stress, well then it'll just make you feel better and see what's happening.
So if anyone's listening, maybe they're at home or they're driving around Dublin listening to us today and they're thinking, do you know, that might be for me, what's the next steps? How do they get in touch with you and step forward?
Well, they can call 18909272777 or 8733500, or email info@parentline.ie, and there's an application form on the website, parentline.ie. There's an application on that, so if you want to fill out the application form and send it in to info@parentline.ie, we will then have a look at the application form, give you a call, then we'll invite you in for a chat. And I don't like to say the word interview, because it's a more informal situation, and it's just to make sure that we're okay with you, but also that you're okay with us. You know where the building is, you know that it suits you to come in, the kind of place it is. And then after that, then the training starts on the 19th of October. And so it would be, you'd be on the line sometime in November.
Brilliant. I'll give that number again, 18909272777 or info@parentline.ie. Now, there's something else coming up in your calendar. Last week was National Parents Week. We missed you for that, so apologies. But you've got something coming up on the 8th of October, which is going to be of interest to parents.
Yeah, we've had a really busy time at the moment. I'm run off my feet. But yeah, last week was Parents' Week and it was a fantastic week. The purpose of Parents' Week is to draw attention to Parentline and let parents know we're there for them. So this week is just as good as last week. We can tell them this week. The other big thing that's happening for us is we're having a conference on the 8th of October, which is just a week away, a little over a week. And it's called Working Together to Overcome School Refusal and Non-Attendance. Over the last 2 years, or a little less than 2 years, we've seen a big increase in the number of calls to the helpline about schools, kids who are refusing to go to school. So it's obviously a big issue for parents out there. Also, we've got a couple of teachers working with us on the helpline, and they're saying that they see it happening in their classroom. So we thought we normally like to run a conference sort of interest to parents once a year-ish. And so we felt, God, this is a big thing at the moment, so let's reflect that in the conference. Now we've two really interesting speakers, Professor John Sharry, who's a psychologist and works very familiar with working with children, and then we've got Pádraig Clarkin, who works with the Irish Primary Principals Network. Now John will talk about sort of reasons why children wouldn't go to school and what we can do about it and the whole psychological part of it, and Pádraig is going to cover off the sort of the laws around it and what schools can do about it, how schools can support children who are having difficulty going to school, and also about the impact it has on the classroom, because if you've got kids not coming in, it affects everybody in the classroom. So it looks like a very interesting conference. The conference is on in Wynn's Hotel in Abbey Street. The tickets for the conference are €20 and they're available from parentline.ie. If you click on the poster for the conference on the website, it'll bring you to the payment, and then a ticket will automatically be generated then. It's at 7:30 on Tuesday the 8th of October in Wynn's Hotel in Abbey Street. Terrific place for transport. Buses and darts and Lewis's all go by. That's why we picked that. So it looks like a good conference. I think it'll be very, very interesting, and I think if any parent has any issue about their child having difficulty going to school, it would definitely be worth attending.
I've definitely seen John Sharry before. I think he's Trinity College, and very interesting take on parenting and how children working together to overcome school refusal and non-attendance. A question for you, I don't know if you can answer it, but in my day, if you didn't turn up for school, it might be a week later before your parents found out. Now it's 10 minutes after 9, the text goes to the parents. So I'm wondering how it's even possible that there's, a high non-attendance with such a technological regime in place.
Well, these unfortunately are children who just don't leave the house to go to school. It's not that they're waiting for the school to tell the parent they didn't turn up. I think possibly because of that, the mitching thing is probably gone. But these are kids who just don't turn up. Now, I don't know why kids think that way. We're waiting to see what John Sharry says about this. But my instinct is it's easier to go to school than not. So there must be something going on for that child that makes him or her dig in their heels and not go to school, because it's where you meet your friends, it's where they discuss the disco on Saturday night, it's where they play their sports, it's where they learn ultimately. And to have that row with your mum every morning, I don't want to go. Now, I remember as a child, I used to love a bit of snow when they might close the school, and it was a lovely feeling. Or you might chance your arm and say, I'm sick. But my mother had an expression that, you just sort of say, you won't say it twice. Mothers seem to know if you really are sick. But every child, I think, that ever was would chance their arm. But at the same time, somebody that on a non-going basis doesn't want to go to school, there's some reason for it, and then, of course, school is not for everybody. We do come across kids who are genuinely just really, really unhappy in school, and it might be some sort of undiagnosed condition like dyslexia or dyspraxia or something like that just makes things difficult for them. And then, of course, we have the laws around it. If you don't turn up for, I think it's 20 days, the parents are responsible and can actually be charged. And there's, I don't think it happens that, no one wants to bring the wrath of the law on parents unless it's a very genuine situation. But at the same time, You have to be cognizant of it,
So let's recap that it's Tuesday next, the 8th of October, and it's in Wynn's Hotel on Abbey Street, directly there at the Abbey Lewis stop, and you can't miss it. And it's on for 2 hours, and the tickets are available from parentline.ie if you click on the poster, and they cost €20. Can I ask you about parents and parenting? Do parents see themselves as kind of a community, that there are other people out there doing exactly the same thing as them parenting at this time, or are they all seeing themselves individually, out on their own on an island?
I'd love to answer it directly, Brian, but I think there's a couple of ways of looking at it. The fact is, parents are a collective community of parents with different issues, which makes them individuals and makes their children individuals and their situations individuals. So they are on an island in that situation. Now, Parentline would always say to parents, particularly parents of younger children, or, early teens, that kind of age, try and get to know the parents of your children's friends, so that you can become a community and that you can support one another, and so that when there's something going on, if somebody is experimenting with drugs, or somebody's not well, if they need support, that there's that conversation there and you know who they're talking to. Try and trust them as well, because somewhere no parent is perfect and no parent is completely imperfect. So, whatever's going on is okay. But then when a parent encounters a particular problem, they often become very, very individual, and very often don't want to go to the school gate or the community and say, this is going on in my house, because they might often feel a bit disloyal to their child. I'm not telling Mrs. such and such a body down the road that he's being bullied or whatever it might be. I suppose that's where Parentline comes in, because then you've got the confidentiality and no one is going to judge you, so you can discuss it. So Parentline becomes your community of parents, and the experience that Parentline has, then you can learn from, benefit from.
You mentioned some statistics, and anger and aggression was top of the list for topics that come onto your helpline. It sounds like one of the more serious ones too is child on parent anger and aggression. Is there anything that you have in store to help people with this complaint?
Yes, Parentline is unique in that we deliver the non-violent resistance programme over the phone on a one-to-one basis. Now, that's an international programme. It was developed in Israel and then Irishized, so to speak, by a guy called Declan Coogan in Galway University. And he trained a group of Parentline volunteers, and we can now deliver it over the phone. Now, the good thing about that is there's less of a waiting list. No one knows who you are. We can deliver it all over the country. You're not going to come in about your child being violent and meet Mrs. Murphy from down the road. This is one-on-one from your house. We can't see the phone number. We don't know where the parent is ringing from. They won't see our phone number when we ring out. So if anybody checked a bill or anything, it's completely confidential. But the whole idea of the programme is it's quite structured, and originally it just used to last 16 weeks. Parentline felt that was a bit long. That's saying to a parent, it's going to be 4 months before this is sorted. So that's a bit daunting. However, we will give the parent as long as it takes them to, as long as they need for it. But typically it's about 5 weeks. And we would ring on a dedicated time once a week and spend about an hour with the parent. And the first thing in the programme is de-escalation, it's called. And that is to train the parent to say, I'm walking away from this from now. I'm not going to battle with the child while they're being angry. It's not going to get anybody anywhere. And if one voice gets higher than the other and one gets more animated than the other, it's not going to get anybody anywhere. So it's to say to the parent, okay, I'm walking away from this, and then come back and revisit it. Now, there's no excuse for abuse. So the child, it's not acceptable behaviour for the child, but you're walking away from it now. And you would revisit it when everybody is calmer, lay down the rules in the house and work through it. So we're focusing, while it is the child that's being angry, aggressive, violent, controlling. We're working on the parents' reaction to that and their behaviour to help them stop it. I suppose it's take control as a parent.
If I was to use an analogy from the British Parliament last week, they had a problem with their language and the way they addressed each other in a very severe way. And somebody suggested that Michelle Obama had this saying that they go low and we'll go high. Yeah. In terms of the moral high ground and in dealing with de-escalating and not being like down at the level of the aggressor.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's go higher in terms of your moral high ground, not your voice. Yes, I think that's what it is. And it's to show the child that this is not the way you behave, and you get no outcome from behaving like that. You get a more positive outcome if you just behave normally and politely and respectfully. And you see, that very often has a big impact on the whole family. If you've got one child kicking off like this, you've got the other siblings sometimes nervous, uncomfortable, unpleasant, and that's not good enough. So the parent has a responsibility to the whole family, so they need to sort that out, and that's the way.
Or they're sitting there wondering and maybe learning, is this the way that it works, and I get what I need, and that would be the wrong thing, I suppose, to learn. How many calls are you getting per annum?
We get 3,000 calls per annum. We have the capability for more, so please, parents, ring and talk. Yeah, so that means that since Parentline started, we've spoken to about 120,000 parents. So that's a lot of experience and a lot of parents.
If Parentline was better known about, would you have higher numbers of calls? Like, is there an untapped kind of service that you need to be providing out there?
Absolutely. Every time I mention Parentline, somebody said, oh my God, I wish I knew about that when my child was 15. I could have done with it. And everybody, well, as far as we know, everybody that uses it is satisfied. When we ask the parent how they feel about the call at the end of our chat, they would always almost say, I feel the better of it, and I might ring again. And we do get repeat callers. You often get, actually interesting, we often get grandparents who ring us and they say, I rang you as a parent and now I have a query as a grandparent. So many years later they're still tapping into it, and they're the people who know and have experienced Parentline. So I must say I've used it, and I was very, very happy with it. So I'd love every parent to know the Parentline is there, because our children change all the time and our circumstances change all the time. And children are so different. If you've got 2, 3, 4 children, you'll have one that causes a problem at 2 and you've got one that causes a problem at 15. So it's nice to have that reassurance and that support. Ask a question and get an answer.
Brilliant. Let's just recap on the 3 things then that you've got for us today. The non-aggression training, that's just, you get that through contacting yourselves, and if somebody has been onto you with such a query, you'll bring them towards that training. It's parentline.ie. And the conference next Tuesday?
The conference next Tuesday is about non-school attendance, working with parents towards to overcome school refusal and non-attendance. John Sharry and Porrick Clarkin are the 2 speakers. The conference is at 7:30 in Winds Hotel on the 8th of October, and tickets are available on parentline.ie.
And then coming up later in October, you are recruiting new volunteers for Parentline. Tell us what's the critical dates, and why should somebody lift the phone and step forward and volunteer?
Well, I suppose why should you lift the phone, first of all, is if you've got 3 hours to spare once a week, please give it to Parentline. By doing that, you're supporting many, many parents. You will definitely get really valuable training in counselling and listening skills, and you will meet some really pleasant, interesting people. The training starts on the 19th of October. Everything happens in Carmichael Centre in North Brunswick Street. The training and the helpline is in North Brunswick Street. And please call.
And that critical date for training and to kind of express your interest to be a volunteer is the 19th of October?
The training starts on the 19th of October, so if we could meet you sort of a week or so before then, that would be great to get us things organised. So I would say if you're thinking of volunteering, please do so immediately. And if you look at parentline.ie, you'll see the application form. Send that in to info@parentline.ie and we'll take it from there.
And maybe just one last shout for the number, the free phone. Or the local call number.
Local call number, Brian, 1890 927 277. And we've got another number because sometimes telephone packages work better with a 7-digit number, and that's 0187 33 500.
Rita O'Reilly, Parentline, thank you very much for your time today, and more power and success to your organisation.
Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you.
Next week is Mental Health Awareness Week, and if you've got any events on in the Dublin area that you'd like publicised here on the radio, why not get in touch and we'll give them some publicity on next week's programme. So if you tweet me at Brian Green on Twitter, or if you email mentalwealth@dublincityfm.ie, and we will give your event some publicity. By way of a preview to next week's programme, I will be talking with people from the Dublin Human Given Centre next week on the show. And here is a little extract of next week's show.
It's not good to be constantly online. It's not good to be constantly available, contactable. And as you say, yes, I would definitely recommend that people take time to switch off. Again, to get our need for privacy met, we should be able to, at the end of the day, go home, close the door, and ideally not be on social media or email or whatever. So the other thing to remember is that that blue light that is on screens, even the television, it actually lights up a part of the brain which it's hard to relax, like to shut down again. So it can affect our sleep. So I would always recommend clients, especially ones that would be online a lot on their phone, on their tablet, watching TV in bed, to try to switch off at least an hour before they go to bed. Or actually, if they can't do that, to maybe look into purchasing what they call those yellow light things to at least change that light that's getting into the brain. But ideally, yes, try to have some downtime away from screens, away from television, and give yourself the permission, if you like.
My full interview with the Dublin Human Given Centre will broadcast next Tuesday, the 8th of October, here on Dublin City FM. As I was saying, next week, Mental Health Awareness Week. Get your events over to us for publicity at Brian Green on Twitter, mentalwealth@dublincityfm.ie on the emails. Until next week, do have a good mental health week and take care, stay safe, and goodbye.